Hey, everybody, this is Dennis Brown, former San Francisco 49er and Super Bowl champ. I'm here on the 49er Weekly Show, The Grueling Truth, with Dexter and Matt.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the 49ers Weekly Show on the Grueling Truth Radio Network, brought to you by Replenishing Technologies and MyBookie.ag. I'm your host, Matt Andruscavage, and with me is my co-host, former 49ers running back Dexter Carter.
Hey, Matt, good to be with you again, my man. Looking forward to it.
Same here. It's another week and another moral victory we're speaking of. Another difficult overtime loss, but I'm hopeful that this week we'll finally get that first win under our belt, right?
Hey, absolutely. And hopefully some of the things that we talk about, will keep fans encouraged and also hit the points that are just realistic to moving forward.
Right. This is the thing. Right now it's we're still in that we're not that far removed from watching championship 49er football where they're winning the division, going to the NFC Championship game and competing for a Super Bowl, and so we're still kind of lingering around in that expectation of winning. But I think it's important to remember that this is a rebuild. In year one, this could be a lot worse. They could be getting blown out every week, but they're playing competitive football. I just need to get a few things tweaked, and I think they're on the verge of winning a few games here.
You know what? I think we have a lot of things to tweak, but I do think there's optimism in the fact that there's been no blowout, and if you accumulate all the points in which the 49ers have lost by, I believe it's under 10 points if you add them all together. But it all comes down to what we've talked about for days, and it doesn't take a football genius to realize it. One, we all realize that Hoyer is serving a purpose. The one thing that's been consistent here is his consistent inconsistency. The unopportune times to throw a big interception at the wrong time. Actually, it's a wrong time every time you throw an interception, but, they've been at bad times for the 49ers. And although neither other teams, the Cardinals or the 49ers, had very good third down conversions, we're going to focus on the 49ers. We always say that, one, you're going to have a very difficult time of winning if you can't convert on third downs and score touchdowns in the red zone. And they did a terrible job, as did Cardinals, in third down conversion. So those things don't help. It doesn't help when your receivers, drop passes that, should be caught. Hyde did the best he could under the circumstances, dealing with that hip issue, and still had a very, serviceable game that helped the 49ers move the ball. But it is very difficult to try to win a ball game when another most important aspect of the game that we've talked about is you cannot kill your chances and your drive by having penalties on either side of the ball, and we had them all. So there are a lot of things to work on, but again, we're in ball game. At some point, before season or maybe around mid-season, if the inconsistency at quarterback continues, and I don't see why Beathard, he's going to be inconsistent as a rookie. You're not. He did well in the preseason, so why not give him a chance to get in there? And as this team grows, Beathard grows. So I think it will be a positive thing. I know he's learning, behind Hoyer, and listening in the classroom, but at some point you got to take what you learn in the classroom and put it on the field. And if your team is losing, you might as well lose as a group, as long as everybody is getting that experience and working together. And that's the only thing that can get better from point A to point B on this progression of the 49ers getting to be a better team.
Yeah, you really hit on a lot of important points. Penalties. I think penalties have been a problem really since Jim Harbaugh left. They didn't really have as many, and it's just been an undisciplined kind of a mess in a lot of games. So especially this year, they're leading the league in penalties. Hopefully some of that can get cleaned up. But yeah, as far as quarterback position, this is really the area that I think everyone wants to focus on, and rightfully so. Brian Hoyer, like you said, he serves a purpose. There's a reason they brought him in. Kyle Shanahan said he really has not thought about benching him this week. He feels that Brian Hoyer gives him the best chance to win. I think that's true, at least right now. But I will say this, if the 49ers continue to get more of the same over these next two games on this road trip, because the Colts have a bad defense, we'll talk about that later, and the Redskins are not exactly, the 85 Bears out there. So I think Brian Hoyer's got to show something. If he doesn't, I am totally with what you're saying. I think it would be time to give C.J. Beathard a chance. There's no harm in it. I think he showed he's got some skills during the preseason, and why not get him out there and give him some reps? Hopefully Brian Hoyer plays a little bit better this week, and we can just see some progression going forward. But I think the writing's on the wall. This is probably going to be his only year in San Francisco. I know that he does have talent. He is a smart quarterback, but right now the inconsistencies are really outweighing what we see on paper.
Right, and Kyle Shanahan hasn't given us, all the 49er fans, any reason to not trust him. So he sees what's going on in practice, and really what's going on in practice is Hoyer's getting all the first two reps, or the majority of them. So in reality, he does give the 49ers the best chance to win right now. But at some point, like I said, mid-season going forward, how would that look if he got all the first team or the majority of the first team reps? How much better could he be? So I see him right now saying that, hey, I haven't thought about it right now. But if games continue to, be the way that they are as far as, interceptions or the inability to convert on third down and score a touchdown, then I hope he starts considering what's best for the team moving forward, because if the line isn't blocking, it's not going to be great for Beathard. If penalties will continue to occur, that's not going to help Beathard. So there are some things that got to be cleaned up regardless of whether, Beathard's the quarterback or Hoyer's the quarterback. But again, they're giving them a chance to win. If they eliminate the things that are holding them back, such as the penalties and the missed blocks or the drop passes, those things can help Hoyer out and be a better quarterback. And maybe they can overcome those one interception team that he's throwing. Right now, with all of those things happening, then, we're going to continue to lose, by the small margin that we are. But we'll continue to trust in Kyle and see what happens moving forward.
Yep, I agree with that. Let's continue the rundown of the Cardinals game, and then we'll get right into the Colts game. Just a couple of things of note, as you kind of touched on the third down percentage. The 49ers, I believe, were I don't have the number in front of me, at 9 for 19 or 6 for 19. I think that was like a 26% conversion rate, and that's just not going to get it done. Carlos Hyde had about 68 yards of rushing in limited action with his hip injury. We saw Marquise Goodwin go out with a concussion, and Aldrick Robinson wasn't real impressive in his stead. Dropped a key pass that would have been, it probably would have put up some points, in the second half. So that was big. And Brian Hoyer, he was somewhat efficient at times, but on that interception, even though the receiver fell down, I still feel that interception happened because Hoyer overthrew it, went right to Antoine Bethea, and it was just a big one. And they just can't have that. I also see Rashard Robinson, getting burned a lot. He did make a couple of good pass defenses. That was nice to see. But, as we talk about this more, Rashard Robinson, he's a big talker. And I like him. I like his confidence. But he's been getting burned. And, you can't be you can't be talking that much if it's going that bad on the field. And so I still feel like the cornerback position is a problem for the defense. Hopefully, next week we're talking about Reuben Foster and Eric Reed returning. But until then, this group's got to continue to hold it together in the secondary, because the front seven is just playing so well, and they have to be on the field an awful lot. So there's a lot happening out there. It was a difficult game to see them lose, but like we talked about before, I was glad to just see them battling, and they had their chances to win. It just didn't happen.
Absolutely, and just to hit on a couple of points you said, going back to the third down conversions, 20%, 26% is definitely not going to get it done. Now, to give you a chance, if teams continue to do like the Cardinals and at least give you a chance to stay in the game. I mean, they were like, I believe, 5 of 19, I believe, or they might have been 5 of 16, but nonetheless, that's not that much better than the 49ers. So that in itself would give you a chance to stay in games and kind of mask some of the other problems that are occurring. But moving forward with you're talking about the coach, and you're talking the secondary, the corner position, talking a lot of smack. Corners have to be confident. They have to, really, they all don't have to talk smack, but they have to have a big game, and they have to have a short memory, because you're going to get burned. I don't care which DB you are. Let's see on Sanders, but you are going to get a ball caught on you. You're going to get a ball caught on you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You just can't consistently get beat. And the thing that worries me with the coach is, if you give Brisket some time, he can play terrible there for the coach. And then you've got, T.Y. Hilton, Moncrief, and I think Boyd.
Doyle. Jack Doyle.
Yeah. Those guys can make it ugly if the same defensive secondary play happens, or they can pick on one guy. So they've got to turn it up, and they've got to be ready, because Indianapolis can break it open with those receivers getting downfield. I mean, most teams, they have 1 or 2. These guys have 3 that can really play. So it's going to be interesting to see. The only thing that is in our favor is that we've got a front seven that can put that pressure on. We've already shown that they can, sack the quarterback, which is a great thing for the 49ers for that secondary. So it's going to be very interesting. At some point, that front seven, trust me, in practices, in meetings, I promise you, they're having some serious conversations with that secondary that, hey, if we're putting pressure on the quarterback, and we're getting him out of the pocket, and we're getting 6 sacks, in a game, the times he does throw it down the field, you guys got to make some plays. You may not INT it, but you got to knock it down, so, that's got to be improved on this week.
Right. The front seven was really big in Arizona. I felt like the defense kept the offense in the game. The Niners had all kinds of chances, largely because that front seven is getting constant pressure on the quarterback. And even though the Cardinals were shorthanded, I think the Colts are even worse. Even though they're getting Ryan Kelly back, this is going to be his first game. I think he's going to have a real difficult time if he's trying to block Eric Armstead or DeForest Buckner. DeForest Buckner is the highest-rated interior lineman by Pro Football Focus. It's been like this all season long. He's dominating. He's getting quarterback pressures. He got a sack last week, and he opens things up for the rest of the guys. Elvis Dumerville got 2 sacks. We saw Solomon Thomas get his first sack. Eli Harold got his first sack. So I think this is going to really, come in bunches where the more they gain confidence, they're going to be able to get after that quarterback, and that changes everything. That helps the secondary, and it gets the defense off the field and gives the offense a chance to work. I think this week against the Colts is a real crossroads. If the 49ers can put a complete game together and get this win, well, competing for the division title is not crazy. This is not a very good division. The NFC West it just isn't very good right now. Now, probably at the end, the Seahawks will probably get things together and end up winning it. The Rams are showing that they're a good team, but you know what? If they're in it, if they're being able to compete, for a division title. Not that I think it'll actually happen, but if they can compete, I think that really changes how this team plays and how a lot of these players can grow. And so if they're 0-5, I think all of that probably goes out the window. But if they can win this game and be 1-4, Cardinals are probably going to lose. They're going to be right there. And then as we saw several years ago, when the division was really bad in 2010, they were in the division conversation all the way up to the end, even though they only had like 4 wins. So you just never know what can happen. I'm not saying that they're going to win the division or anything like that. I just want to see them in the race and being able to just compete and play for something, even if it doesn't end up working out. But I think this defense is showing a lot, and especially when Reuben Foster comes back, they're an exciting unit to watch out there.
Right. And I think this is a division that will get better as the season goes on.
Probably.
Because there are some good teams in this division, and you got the Rams showing some life, and really, I'm telling you, the 49ers, we can pick, the deficiencies apart, but they're in every game. And if you can be in every game and progressively get better as the season goes, those games that are tight that you're losing, you're going to start winning those games that are tight. That's why, they at the end could be much, much better than they are now. And one thing that the 49ers have in their favor, and we've time after time have said this, that one of the most important facets of your team, because I do believe defense, offense, win games, and defense win championships. Offense is for show, and all that stuff. But the defensive front seven, if you've got a front seven, I just think back looking at defensive linemen over the times, whether it's Charles Haley or the 49ers or Warren Sapp with the Bucs. We just throw a lot of names out there. Michael Carter, when he mans that front, that nose area for the 49ers. When you could dominate that line of scrimmage and you could put that pressure on the quarterback, whether you get Sykes or not, you speed him up. That makes it just creates a tone for the game, in my opinion. And we said this during the summer because we've got a lot of young guys that are extremely talented. And we said when they gel together, they were going to be off the chain. And then getting Reuben Foster, that just amped it up for the defense. We already have another great linebacker, to pair with him. We said that the defensive secondary had to come along over time, hopefully sooner than later, and it's coming to fruition.
Yeah.
If defense can keep teams on the low scoring end, it gives the offense until they mature and get better and Hyde get back healthy and either Hoyer starts with minimizing those interceptions or the interceptions at the time that they're coming and converting on third down. If defense can continue to hold on, which I believe they will only get better, this team can be very, very dangerous. Now, I believe they can be dangerous with Hoyer or with Beathard. I really do.
Right.
I think the way Beathard played in the preseason, they could throw him in there next season, and I really believe that he will fall right into what they need. I really do. So the 49ers got a lot of upside to not just this season, but also in the team that they're trying to build for the future.
Yeah, that's the thing that really encourages me. I look at, we can pick apart the deficiencies like you were talking about, and they are there. There's no question about it. And we want to see victories. Who doesn't want to see victories? But there is a lot of good things going forward, and I really believe in the vision of this GM and coach and the offensive system. I do believe this is going to end up working out. It's just a matter of, can they learn from these things and get and tighten some of this stuff down to win these kind of games. It's just 3 straight weeks where they should have come away with a win. They could easily be 3-1. The last 3 games, like you said, they've lost by a combined total of 8 points the last 3 games, and that's impressive for year one of a rebuild. So hopefully, this week when they go to Indianapolis, they can get pressure on Brissett. I don't think they're going to be able to really block that front 7. I don't think Frank Gore's going to be seeing a lot of running room. I love Frank Gore, but I want him stopped on Sunday. And I think the biggest thing is going to be keeping Brissett from getting outside the pocket and finding those receivers. That's going to be the biggest thing, and also Brian Hoyer on third down. If they can clean that up and continue to find Trent Taylor, who's becoming a reliable third down target, continue to find Pierre Garçon. Hopefully Marquise Goodwin is back healthy, and hopefully George Kittle can improve on his performance last week. They have playmakers out there. They have a running game. It's just a matter of can they put it all together, minimize the mistakes, and take advantage of a Colts team that really is not very good. They should be able to win this game, and so hopefully we'll see that happen.
Right, and I think having Reuben Foster back, hopefully 100% or close to 100% if we can get, because what he brings, not just to the defense, but to that team, is an identity, a fire, and just an enthusiasm across the entire spectrum of the team. So I think him coming back hopefully will add, spice to that team. And, the defensive line didn't really need any more spice. But if it's going to help, man, to see them any better than what they're, becoming right now is going to be really, really exciting for this team.
Right. Reuben Foster and Eric Reed probably won't play this week, but the fact that they could come back next week, both of them combined,
right, okay,
will really help. But that could just set up against what's going to happen next week against Washington. If they can get a win this week, and all of a sudden you get those two guys back, its defense is going to be even more special. So then you just kind of hope that the offensive line can continue to play pretty stout. I thought the offensive line was good overall last week. There were plenty of times where Brian Hoyer had time to throw, which is actually a little discouraging to see where some of those passes went. But hopefully some things will change in this game, and they can build going forward. But I like Carlos Hyde to get about 100 yards in this game, and I really like the defense to dominate just like they did against the Cardinals, maybe even more so this week.
Right. And one thing you said about Reuben Foster, that he may not play this week, but if he's probably going to play next week, that means that he is practicing a great bit, which is a good thing because he's around. That identity is he's able to put his finger on the pulse of that defense, and so he is being Reuben Foster around that facility.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes it's not whether you play in the game. It's always better, of course, but if he's around, trust me, that identity is still being cemented with that team. So yeah. And as you said, if we can continue to improve on the offensive line, there are more positive things this past week, so we can keep getting better there, and continue to give Hoyer time, and just plan on him making great decisions throughout the game, and nobody's going to be perfect, but all we can ask is that they strive for excellence in their performance. And I tell you, with the identity of the coach and the GM who are winners, this team is getting that feeling of, just, can't be, perfection just doesn't exist. But as you strive for perfection, if you can be in that excellence area, you know what, you can win some ball games. And that's why I think the 49ers are becoming to find themselves in that area of trying to strive for excellence. And, and that's what's going to help them win these games that are close games now in the future.
Right. They're so close to getting a victory. I don't feel like they can get much closer without attaining it. I mean, this is, 2 straight weeks of overtime. They should probably have won both games, but, it just didn't happen. So hopefully this week, I think the biggest key in this game is to get a lead. You can't keep playing from behind, and you can't just kick field goals. If they can get some kind of a lead, like a 10-0 lead, a 13-0 lead, maybe even a 14-0 lead, I think that's going to go a long way, because that defense, I don't think they're going to give up a lot of points this week.
Yeah, the defense, as you said, defense is going to hold teams down to low-scoring, games this year. So we just have to be able to score more points than them. And defense isn't asking for a whole lot of points to be scored. So, and it's only a matter of time for Cal's offense, to really get clicking to where he's going to get to that 28-point, average a game that he's accustomed to. So that's going to happen. And when it does happen, and this defense is who it has the identity that it has, the 49ers are going to be off the charts. So it's still set for an exciting future for the 49ers.
Right, you really hit on something important. I think 20 points could win this game. It's not really asking a lot. I think they're going to need probably a little bit more next week, but if they can get in that 20 to 24 point range, they'll have a chance to win most of the games that they play this year. So hopefully we'll see improvement, get some touchdowns, less penalties, and hopefully this week will be the start of a little bit more consistency on offense.
Right.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us today. Hopefully everybody will have a good opportunity to watch the game. It's an early start time because they've got this an East Coast road trip. They start in Indianapolis this week, and then they end up in the nation's capital next week. So hopefully they can get a couple of road wins, but starting with this week, and only worry about this week. And I really believe they're going to come away with a win.
Not a two. And again, the defense is just on the road, so I think that's going to be key in this game. And getting the pressure on the quarterback and not having him have a whole lot of time to get the ball down to those, three receivers that, can do damage if given time. So, again, hopefully they can put 20 points on the board and leave the results, not by chance, but by, their actions determine the outcome of the game.
Yep, I think so. I think they've got a real good chance to get this one done. So hopefully we'll be watching a victory this week, and we'll be back with you next week to hopefully talk about a win, break down the games that, break down the plays that happen, the key plays, and then obviously be able to talk about a preview at the Washington Redskins. So, got any final thoughts, my friend?
No, I just love the the progress that the team is making. Again, we talk about just trust the process and don't get too high, don't get too low. But it's easier to stay in that area when you see the team really progressing, in my opinion, and being in every game. So that's what we hope to see next week, except being on the winning side and hopefully come and be able to talk about a W for the first time this season.
That's right. Yeah, I think we're due, right? We got to talk about
That's
a win
right.
on this show.
That's right. That's right. Talk about a win and still talk about the things that can help the 49ers progressively get better. Because a win doesn't eliminate all those things. It's still a win is part of the process. And then let's keep building for the future.
That's right. Well, everybody, thanks for listening. Be sure to check out thegruelingtruth.net for articles, podcasts, anything else that you like in the NFL and other sports. So for Dexter Carter, I'm Matt Andruscavage. You've been listening to the 49er Weekly Show on the Grueling Truth Radio Network, where the legends speak.